This is Lorena Mora-Mowry from Mora-Mowry. Today I have the pleasure to interview Greg Harris, and he's the State Director of StudentsFirst. Welcome to Mora-Mowry today.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to inform our community about your organization, why you are working in StudentsFirst, and why you're so interested in education.
You know, my children are Cincinnati public school students, and they attend a good elementary school, but it's a school where you have to camp out to get registered, and that's sad. You know that there's only a handful of excellent rated elementary schools, and people are competing to get into them, and you know, so a lot of it's equitable educational opportunity, realizing the promise of what a public school is supposed to be, giving all kids, regardless of background, regardless of income, a quality education, and we've absolutely fallen short in that, unfortunately. And then it's too often a tale of you know of the zip code you were born in. Your background is an indicator of the quality of education you'll get, and that's not the idea of what it was supposed to be.
Well, you're working with StudentsFirst.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know Michelle Rhee, but let's talk about Michelle a little bit, so people that they don't know about this organization, why it's important to work, and the legacy of Michelle Rhee.
Yes, you know, she took over a Washington D.C. school district a few years ago that was in very dire straits. Many of the kids who were not graduating, even the kids who were graduating, were really not college ready, and many children were falling through the cracks. And so she went in there with some very innovative ideas and new thinking about how to turn around a failing school system. But there are very entrenched powers that protect, you know, the status quo. And in the end, the mayor who hired her lost the election largely because of the education reform agenda of Michelle Rhee. So one of her motivations is not only to help make public education exemplary for all kids, regardless of class, race, background, but also zip code is exactly, but also to build the kind of political movement needed, so people who are reformers, who want to change what in many places are failing schools, don't lose elections, that get rewarded, can have the courage to do what's right, and not be sacrificed at the altar of political expediency. And so it's a education reform movement, and it's a social justice movement, and it's a political movement wrapped into one. So that's why she started this organization about 2 years ago, and we've been active in Ohio, especially over the last year. I've been around for about a year. Ernesto was hired at the beginning of the year, and we're out there organizing and talking to people. Organizing communities, organizing parents. You know, a lot of parents who work very hard to find educational alternatives for their children, and you'll see that one of the central tenets of our movement is parent empowerment. That we want to get really clear information to parents about how their child's school is performing, because that hasn't always been clear in the past.
It's always confusing.
It's confusing, and they use terms to rate schools they used to, but that weren't really accessible. And also to give parents tools to help compel school districts to change their ways if schools are always failing. For example, we support something called a parent trigger, which basically says that if a majority of parents at a school petition their school to go through a turnaround, the district has to do it. We don't want children to be trapped in failing schools anymore. We also support quality school choice. So we think that a child, whether he or she wants to go to a traditional public school, a charter school, a private school, that she shouldn't be excluded based on her income. That whether rich or poor, every family should have choice. So there's a lot of work to do, but I think it's important work, and it's exciting for me to be part of this movement.
Why is it important for the Hispanic Latino community and see this interview to learn about this organization, but also so they can learn to have a voice, because usually the Hispanics were very quiet. We are afraid because of the language, because it's another culture. So that happened to me. So I'm just telling you that is something that happened
Yes.
probably to all of us. So how we can motivate them, motivate us to have a voice in this movement and be part of this movement.
Yes, and schools should be a place where children feel like they're becoming part of the American experience. And one of the things we advocated for very aggressively during the last budget negotiations was something called weighted student funding, where we said there's money that goes to all children, but there should be extra money going to children who face certain challenges. So for example, we thought English language learners, there should be extra resources while those children transition into a new class culture, new classroom, a new language. And that requires tutoring supports, ESL teachers, and it's pennies to the dollar in the long run. But that's one of the things we advocated for, that we have a lot of English as a second language speakers in our school.
This is StudentsFirst.org. You can visit.
Yes, StudentsFirst.org. We have about 2 million members nationally. We have 70,000 members here in Ohio. You interviewed our outreach director, Ernesto Apreza, earlier, and he is working very hard to reach out to these members, to engage them, to find out what their concerns are, what their issues are, how they'd like to get involved. There's so many ways to get involved. It can be something as simple as writing or calling a legislature, to coming to testify in Columbus at a hearing. We encourage people to go on our website and sign up for our newsletter so they can stay informed on the issues. But we have to build this movement of citizens, because they're the ones, ironically, whose voices are heard the least in the education system.
Well, recently I went to the assembly, the state representative. They listened to you.
They
They
do
listened
listen.
to me, and they took note. They went to my website. They asked me questions. So don't be afraid to be part and to have a voice, because I did it. I've been done twice, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, they heard my voice.
You know, and sometimes the trappings of power, you go to the State House and you see politicians, but they work for you. They're public servants, and so if you as a citizen will go there and willing to give testimony or to do office visits or phone calls, they will find what you found, that they will listen. And oftentimes they listen more when you're not sort of the usual suspects, right? Because they're used to lobbyists, they're used to professionals coming before them with their issues, and they get paid very well. But when you have everyday citizens speaking up for educational justice and educational opportunity, that tends to be heard. Thank you so much.